to this week's episode of the Purpose Podcast, where we talk about all things why we wake up every single morning and do the jobs we do. The purpose of this podcast is that we're living through very testing times. And I think a lot of people right now have been struggling with, from direction to, understanding where they want to be right now. And this podcast is designed to help as a guide for people who really want help, essentially. And, I'm really excited to talk to Ruella this week from Ruella James Recruitment. And we'll talk all the reasons why we wake up and do the stuff we do and why we help others. And, I think right now we need a voice. We need people to, listen to what's going on in the world, a bit of positivity. And, I think with this week's guest, with Ruella, we can really get some interesting, exciting thoughts, also suggestions and what she's been through in this really crazy year for her. I spoke with her last night, and honestly, it was such an amazing, inspiring story from where you were a year ago to the date. And I really don't want to spoil it because you've got to hear from her. But to be honest, it's really quite an interesting story. But I introduced her. So Ruella James is Ruella Crouch is from Ruella James Recruitment, and she's been in this industry for over 30 years. Why she does the job, I really can't ask myself those questions. I will follow it onto her. So Ruella, if you want to tell me a bit about yourself, why you're doing this for so long, and take it from there for me.
Oh, Richard, thank you for having me. This is the first time I've been in a podcast, so I hope I don't chew over my words and give a good account of myself. So, as you said, I'm Ruella Crouch. I'm the owner of Ruella James Recruitment to Recruitment. For people who are not familiar with that terminology, we recruit recruiters for the recruitment industry. So we're sort of the doctor's doctor, if that makes sense. Yeah. We are a multi-award winning company. We've been established for over 21 years. As you said before, I've been in recruitment for over 30 years. I started when I was 19 and I'm now 52. So your audience can do the maths on that one. Previously, before doing recruitment to recruitment, and we predominantly do the London market, I was a finance recruiter. I'm about to launch my own podcast called Ruella Presents, the leadership podcast. So I'm looking forward to that. And I am a mother to 2 teenage girls.
Amazing. And with your what brought you to do your own podcast? What was the premise behind that? It was a big decision, isn't it, to do a podcast?
Yes. Well, as you know, I've been on the academy with Hoxo Media. You and I have both been on that journey.
Yep.
It's all about developing your personal brand. And for many years, I have been very much behind the scenes and not really kind of getting myself out there. And Sean Anderson, who took us through that journey, which we can talk about a bit more later. He's really my sort of inspiration behind doing the podcast.
No, fair enough. Yeah, no, Sean's very good at he's incredible actually for, getting you think differently about how to, do a personal brand. And,
yes.
He really brings it to the forefront of, it's amazing the way he works and operates and, the work he's been doing to help other recruiters as well. And
that's
their
right.
brand has been incredible. Some of the results that, you've seen over the last 6 months, especially.
Amazing results. Yeah.
So could you share a bit of like some of the results you've shared over the last 6
gosh, you've caught me on the hop now, but off the top of my head, and I know, the one thing I should say, it's not necessarily about your views or the number of people who are liking or sharing your comments, because it's about quality, right? Not quantity. Exactly. But from being sort of 0 views, last month we had over 660,000 people view whatever that quite means on that algorithm and view our content, and definitely so far we have had now over 20 new clients approach us to work with them as a consequence, I think, of what we're doing on the LinkedIn platform.
That's incredible. Honestly, you can't really put that into words. Like, a month, like some, we talk about YouTube and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
600,000 views is an incredible number. Yes. And again, you don't know who's looking at that content, right? It could be a potential.
They're not always engaging with you. They're looking.
Absolutely. And I've been following your progress through. I actually, funny enough, the way we met was through your content. I actually found out about you through what you were doing. I've been trying to find this post for weeks now, which one it was. But off the back of an interaction I made with your content, you reached out to me, and we started talking, and that brings the premise of this chat today. And I just thought, to hear from you and your journey and what's been happening over the last year for you. Which has been quite a roller coaster, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, March the 16th happens to be my birthday. And on March the 16th last year, I literally sat and probably cried all day. I think my children didn't give me my birthday presents until the end of the day.
No.
But when you have had a business for as long as I have, for over 21 years, it was my divorce settlement. So that was what was going to take me through, to my retirement, and to almost see your life's work disappear before your very eyes, which is how it felt to me at that time. We lost over £70,000 worth of revenue, confirmed revenue, pipelined revenue in a day. And we were literally going to our bank account and giving money back to our clients who maybe just started a candidate. They couldn't furlough them. They had seen all of their business completely disappear as well. So completely, I don't hold anything against any of our clients. We were all going through that same journey. And I think I just simply sat there and thought, oh my goodness, what do I do now? I literally, truthfully, did not have a clue.
Hearing that, we spoke about this last night briefly as well, and just reiterating like the scope and scale of how much of an impact it had on you and your business, among with all your clients that you were working with as well.
Yes.
I think this took everyone by surprise, didn't it? There was so much that we all took for, nobody. I remember joking, and I know I'm saying this on a podcast, and it's like, whoa, you were joking about it, Richard. But to be honest, like a lot of people, this time last year, like I was in a completely different industry myself, and working in the super yacht industry, it's got its own differences, and we handled the situation very differently as well. But I watched people on from that side of the coin as well get dropped. There was no care in the world for people. It was just like, it was really quite a turbulent couple of months, and for me it was like, oh my god, nobody knew when this was going to change. And it's so optimistic now to see how you've come out of the back of this, and your journey with Hoxo as well. What was it that really, what made you pivot and want to change? You've clearly, your experiences, you've gone with this, right? You've completely flown in your stride. And what was it that, what made you want to change? And,
it was really, it was a call, really, very fortuitous phone call from Amar, who was Sean's business partner at Hoxo. And he spoke to me about this course about personal branding. I don't think, and I've said this before, that I really understood what he was talking about, because LinkedIn wasn't a platform that I really ever went on. The odd share and like, but it wasn't something that we'd kind of looked at as being a platform for ourselves as a business and for us personally. And I remember agreeing to it because it was, an investment at the time, at a time when I wasn't really thinking we should be spending any money. And I remember ringing him back and saying, what have I signed up for? But I realised from the first session, and I think from the first session, the penny drops actually almost straight away, that this is something that you really have to take quite seriously. It's free. So it's just crazy that more people aren't looking at what they're doing on LinkedIn and really leveraging off that platform. So really from the first session, I was with 15 other business owners, all in the same situation as me. I have made some incredible friends for life through that as well. And we sat there for 16 weeks over the summer. And the way that Sean did it wasn't just about him teaching us. It was about us getting together and collaborating and talking and sharing experiences and just helping each other get through what was an awful time. I mean, it's still difficult for many people now. So I don't want to make light of the fact that we're coming through this. We're not completely through this, but I know it's, and the human tragedy of all of this. We mustn't forget that. I know we're all coming out and things are improving, but there's still been a huge cost for many families out there, which I think we mustn't ever forget.
Absolutely. I think, on the back of that there's so much to take from this, like as an experience for everyone. And, I think we've got to, come together, right? More than ever. And I think with these very challenging periods that we're now experiencing, we're talking a vaccine rollout, we're talking, a lot of optimism for 2021. and I'm seeing there's a lot more of that to come. And off the back of that, I think your story, you've had an incredible start to the year as well. From what you were saying to me last night, it was, do you want to share a bit of how it's been for you so far, the start of 2021 in comparison? If you want to compare, it's entirely up to you.
I mean, we've had a good start to 2020, and that was what was so awful, because we could see that pipeline revenue, and we knew we were probably going to have, a really healthy quarter. We look at things sort of quarterly. I'm a real sort of 90-day person. And, we've had a better start than we did for last year. I think that we will have some really great numbers at the end of the quarter. I don't want to tempt fate, but, it could have been a lot worse. But I'm surprised myself by, there seems to be a lot of support for us on LinkedIn. And clients are coming to us and giving us not just roles, but incredible roles to work on. And we have clients, just incredible clients. We've always been known as the snobs of recruitment to recruitment. I used to get quite offended by that, but I think it just means, if you put it into context, that we're very particular about the candidates that we work with, and we are very particular about the clients that we represent. And I'm just really proud of the fabulous clients that we're working with. The only issue for us right now is the same issue for many other people. All of my team have children. They have young children, and the only thing that's sort of thwarting our progress right now is the fact that my team are having to reduce their hours, because quite rightly, family first. Absolutely. They've got to look after their families. We are a family first business, which has affected the productivity and perhaps what we can do for our clients. So to counterbalance that, we are now recruiting crazily for ourselves. People always laugh, it must be so easy for you, Ruella, recruiting recruiters for yourself. It's actually really difficult. This is a very challenging sector. Our clients know exactly what they're doing. They push back on us a lot. Candidates push back on us a lot. So yeah, it's if anyone's listening, we're recruiting for ourselves. But yeah, that's the plus. But it's off the back of, again, a very challenging situation for our staff and for their children.
No, exactly. And I will speak on that as well. Like, family always first. Absolutely. It's such if anything, this pandemic has made families come together, and I'm seeing on my side as well. One of the reason why I changed industries actually was mainly because during the pandemic, I don't know about yourself, but nobody knew what was going to happen. We didn't know how serious this virus was. We didn't know there was going to be mutations. And off the back of that, I think many people had thoughts about, are they going to see certain family members again? And I was like, there was one point where I was on the boat that I was working on at the time, and I just said to myself, oh my God, am I going to see? I had that thought, and I couldn't leave the boat. I couldn't do certain things. And I completely resonate with your point about family. It's like family drives what we do every day. I'm very much a believer in that. And do you think that's, back to this point about purpose, right? Do you think that's one of the reasons you wake up every morning and do the job you do? Is it very related to the family side of it? Is that a big driver for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the number one. I've got two lovely girls. They are the main purpose as to why I do what I do. But I'd just like to kind of put that into context for a second. One, I'm a better parent for working. So if I raise my hat off to people who are full-time parents. For me, I am a better parent because I work. And I want to be a great example to my children. So I think this sort of nature v nurture, you're a product, the sum of your experience. If my children can see, that you really do have to get your head down and apply yourself, go that extra mile, be there for people, whatever that looks like. I think it's really important that my children have that as a role model, and that I am the best version that I can be of myself, predominantly for them.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And from you say, that is not to paint one reason, you wake up every morning, but, it's a challenging sector we work in, right? It's, like you said earlier, it's like a double-edged sword, isn't it? In a way, like you've got your firefighting with candidates.
Addictive, but it has its downsides.
Yeah. And it's in some ways a roller coaster, but, it's an amazing roller coaster when it, like some of the highest highs, the lowest lows. But, I think from what you're saying as well is that, you know, the principle is that, you know, for your kids and, you know, to anyone listening, like, you know, if you're in a position right now and you're going, oh my God, what, you know, how are we going to do this? How am I going to do that? Like, and a lot of people, I feel like, are looking at this lockdown as I just need to get through this. And I don't know if you're feeling the same, but
I am now. I
yeah.
wasn't before.
Yeah.
But now, I think when you see the effect it's having on the, you know, my team are really resilient people. They've been in the business for a long time, but to see them in tears, not all of them, but some of them in tears, or you can tell that they're really suffering from anxiety when they don't normally. Added to that, the pressures of keeping a job and helping get a business through. We're not through the other side yet. So they realise that I need them. And there's a lot of guilt associated with worrying about your children and worrying about your job.
That's a really good way of looking at it, because I feel I will be honest, like, I'm feeling a bit the same at the moment. Like as a business, like we you know, we're doing fine. Like it's, you know, we've got clients on board, we're doing a lot of work, but that anxiety of, you know, like obviously people aren't looking to move right now as well. There's like, I think we discussed this briefly last night, the candidate side of it, where people aren't
very difficult.
It's very difficult to, you know, to get people in, you know, people aren't in the mindset for it, and it's this mentality of, I just need to get through this before I start thinking about the future. And again, we're talking about going back to a new normal and all this stuff at the moment, but in the same breath, it's like, okay, where is this going to go? And it's very anxious times, it really is. And again, I feel like the government have got such a challenge on their hands right now, and I don't know about their sword, but it's definitely more than double-edged at the moment. And I think going forwards is going to be very challenging for, you know, as business owner yourself. It's, you know, just helping people get through it, and having conversations like this is the way we get people to, you know, just realize, you know, you're not on your own right now. You've got
communication's everything. You know, women are very good at this. We have our tribe, and you and I spoke about this yesterday. We have our tribe, and we are very good, whether we are having a great time or a good time, we are really good at sharing that. And they say a problem shared is a problem halved. And I appreciate sometimes it's more difficult for men to do that. But, you know, I hope anyone listening to this, if you are having any kind of struggle or challenge at the moment, share it. Everyone's got someone in their network, I would hope, that they can talk to. And there's no shame in showing a little bit of humility and vulnerability at the moment. And I have never shown my vulnerability as much as I have in the last 9 months. I wouldn't even have dreamed of doing it before, but now I totally appreciate the importance, not just for myself, but for my audience. And hopefully people have seen I'm a little more approachable as a consequence of what I'm sharing.
And obviously that's amazing. Honestly, you've stumped me for words there. That's such a good way and an amazing way to look at it. And, you know, like you say, people, if you're listening to this, do reach out, do talk to someone. There's definitely someone out there that, you know, people will listen. Like, and I've not from the podcast point of view, but if you need to talk to someone, like, do it, because there's no harm in doing it right now. We're all going through the war together in a lot of ways. It's, you know, we're all feeling some form of anxiety right now. And, you know, from a point of view, people don't know if they're going to have a job next week at some companies, and it's scary.
Furlough's hiding a lot of potential redundancies.
And it's buffering a potential serious issue.
Absolutely.
But we don't, nobody knows what this will look like yet. And it's so testing. But I think, like, with the purpose of going forwards, it's talk. Get out there, speak to someone. If you're really struggling, there's no harm or shame in, you know, talking. You know, it's the best thing to do right now. And like you say, communication is absolutely everything. And that kind of brings us on to my next point, really, about, like, blockers. And, you know, with, you know, when it comes to helping others, you know, from a recruitment standpoint, or, you know, what would you say is a blocker for you when it comes to, you know, in both recruitment, family, friends, colleagues? You know, what would you say is the biggest blocker for you right now?
I think it's probably, you know, just the odd time of having a bit of imposter syndrome. I mean, generally speaking, I am, as people know, a very positive person. I see the world through rose-tinted glasses, even when things perhaps are not necessarily going my way. I don't often get down. For me to cry on my birthday yesterday in front of my children is, that's not something I would do naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very fortunate. I'm someone that can pick myself up quite quickly,
Mm-hmm.
but every now and again, and it's been really more in the last 9 months than any other time, because I've made this decision to sort of really, you don't go on a course not to action what you've learned. And as Sean knows, I didn't ever do a video. The first time I actually went out on air was to do a LinkedIn Live. And people say to me, well, if you can do a LinkedIn Live, Ruella, you can do a video. Well, I just couldn't, and I still can't now. Wow. But because it's live and it's happening and you can't control it and you can't change it and you can't correct it, it just seems easier for me. So I think anyone in my group, they would say that I was probably the least likely person to do what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even use Zoom when I started that course. All sorts of tech issues that I had. Mm-hmm. And I think I won the award at the end of the course for being the worst at tech during the course. And I'm still not great at it now, but what I'm saying is you're never too old to start. So my block is the odd little bit of imposter syndrome, but as my mother would say, and I'm not going to swear here, but she would say, Rue, just hold your nerve. Just hold your nerve. And that has actually been something that resonates all the time. Whenever I feel I can't do something, her words just kind of resonate, and I just go and do it anyway.
Absolutely, just do it. It's like the podcast, like you starting your podcast as well. Do it. It's the action, as they say, and as we say here in True North, it's actions speak louder than words, and talk is cheap. And this with the podcast, there was a lot of influence around like, okay, where do we want to take it? Where do we want to go? And I just said, let's just go with it. Let's just take it. Let's just see where it goes.
Yeah, and I love the title. The Purpose Podcast is just life is all about purpose and knowing what our purpose is. Exactly. I think it's a great initiative.
And it's about getting people talking. That's the main. Yeah. It is. We work in the tech sector, but to be honest, everyone has a purpose. Everyone wakes up.
We all have the same problems.
Exactly. We're all human. End of the day, we're all social animals. I prefer doing this on a table in London at a WeWork or something like that, having a proper setup, proper cameras, and doing it like that. But unfortunately, in the times we're living in, we've got to do it like this. But hey, it is what it is. And I think also there's like, on the back of that comment that you've made there, you've got to the advice that you'd give to someone, if they're at the start of their career or, at the end. There was one point that you really made that really stuck out to me. And it was about, you're never too old to start. My mum being an example as well. She's doing a degree at the moment, a psychology
fantastic. And I think she's the same age as me or similar, you said yesterday.
She's 53 in April and start of the tax year, 5th of April. And, that's an amazing, you're never too old to start. And on the flip side of that, what would you say to anyone starting out right now, whether it is in the recruitment sector, tech, healthcare? What would you say to them?
Interestingly, something that we did for the first time this year was we've got a business coach. Mm-hmm. And if you look at any top athlete, they all have a coach or a mentor behind them to help them be more successful. Mm-hmm. And I would say to anyone in recruitment or thinking about going into recruitment at the moment, or who's been in recruitment for a number of years, have a mentor, have a coach, just learn as much as you can. I'd never listened to a podcast before lockdown. I'm now launching a podcast. Amazing. But the information that you can get from reading the right books, surrounding yourself with the right people, having the right mentor or coach, or listening to podcasts or whatever that is, I think it's really helped me. And I think I can't see how that wouldn't be beneficial for anybody.
You've literally hit the nail on the head with that. There's so many powerful points that you've taken there, and you've just homed in on it. And it's, and be relative as well, right? It's, it's challenging times. There are so many people feeling the anxiety, and, work with others, talk, network. LinkedIn's it's so empowering, and so you just don't know where it can take you. LinkedIn, like look at business, for example, like 600,000 views in last month alone. that outreach is incredible. And you never know who's watching, right? You never know who's reading the content.
Well, I mean, I've met two incredible coaches over LinkedIn. One is a guy called Chris O'Connell, who I urge people to follow. He was a very prolific biller in recruitment. He now runs his own sort of leadership and wellness business, where he helps recruitment leaders get the best out of themselves and their teams. And recently, and in fact, he's about to. Chris was a guest of ours last week on our LinkedIn Live, and next week, the week after next, we have a guy called Michael Watman, who has a background in sport and also in recruitment. And he helps leaders have high-performing teams through what he's learned being in sport. And I'm really, Chris was a fabulous guest, and I'm super excited to have Michael on as well. But through LinkedIn, I've met people that I just never would have previously. I wouldn't have met you guys. So yeah, going back to the first place to start, have a look on LinkedIn. Who are the influencers? Who are the people who are really smashing it out there? Amelia Sordell is someone else on the personal branding front, who was also on my podcast, on my LinkedIn Live. Incredible woman who's built a business without even having a website.
That was with Sean last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was incredible. I tuned in for that as well. It was amazing. Like the value add that all three of you gave to the conversation was awesome. Like I love, this is what it's about though. It's having the conversations with people, like getting people involved. End of the day, the conversation's always ongoing. You've just got to find where the conversation's at.
Well, I'm sorry to keep doing these shout outs, but they're just some people that your audience could follow, that they, could really gain something out of the content that they put out there.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Guys, if you listen to this, Sean Anderson, well, specifically because we use Hoxha, but Amelia as well. I'm not as familiar with Amelia, but the value I got from last week.
For women, she is awesome. She's awesome.
Awesome. So I really enjoyed her. Like what everyone had to share the other week. And
thank you.
From a also a point of view, like from influential people, obviously we're talking, them two examples. What would you say is everyone's got influencers, right? Everyone's got people who really guide them. It can be family, it can be like iconic, like Will Smith, right? But who is it that really sticks out to you over the years that you've been doing this job?
It's my mother.
Really?
She is. My mother is a woman of colour. She was privately educated in the UK. She was married to my father in 1968 when I was born. And it's very unusual to see a mixed race couple at that time, particularly in Brighton where they lived. I think she told me she went on about 15 to 20 interviews before she even got her first job. And it was all about her colour as to why. And she got to the point where she would be ringing people before she went on interview just to say, look, I know I sound like the Queen, but I'm black. Is that going to be a problem for you? And she is my absolute, I actually feel I have tears in my eyes saying this. She is my absolute inspiration. She's an amazing mother. She's an amazing grandmother. And long may she be on this earth, because she's incredible. She is my number one.
And that is your number one. No, so is it? Wow. Like I'm speechless there. That's no, I think
she's a wise woman. African women are very wise. So she always knows about everything. She stuns me with what she knows.
As they say, mothers know best, as they, absolutely true. Absolutely true. And would you say, as a number one, like I honestly, I agree with you. Like my mum as well. Like complete, absolute yes. Like wisest woman I know. And is anyone else in your life that really, resonates? Because obviously we mentioned like for the likes of like Simon Sinek last night, but not necessarily him. But is anyone else that really, helps you? In the work you do every single day?
I think I was very naive to looking at other people influencing me. I mean, I'm very inspired by our competitors. I don't see them as competition. We're collaborators. I work with a lot of our competitors, and in fact, we collaborated pre-COVID. So I don't look at them and think, look at what they're doing. I'm like, wow, look at what they're doing. Awesome. We should be doing this. We could be doing that. So I think it's not sort of big names that really impress me. I think it's the people that I come into contact with on a day-to-day basis. It might be the way a client communicates, the way that they speak, some of the words that they use. I think, That came across really well.
Mm.
I suppose the people who've influenced me the most are Sean and Amelia.
Wow.
But equally, I have a fantastic team around me. They inspire me too. They're the ones that are really going to tell me the truth about something that I'm doing or thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's my tribe of mainly women, I have to say, who are around me. I belong to a network of incredible people, and I'm part of elite leaders as well. So I do work with a group of men and women who run some of the really the most successful recruitment companies in the UK, and it's fantastic to be in a group where, you know, there are a lot of people who are better than you, and I've always wanted to be surrounded by people who are better than me, so that I can learn.
It's almost like I'm part of a monthly accountability group, you know, and it's about holding yourself accountable to, you know, what you want to achieve. Because end of the day, you know, the person to the left of you and the person to the right of you, this is an old army mentality that I had, you know.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Like, you look after the person to the left of you and the person to the right of you, always. And that's always stuck with me, no matter what. It's like a buddy system. And it's the same. That principle applies to any industry that you work in. Like, look after people. Like, even if they're, you know, they might be a competitor, they might be doing, like, you know, they might be billing 800k more than you that year, but I'd still want to go out for a pint with them. I'd still want to look after them. I'd still want to know their kids are good, you know, their family's doing well. You know, everything's friendly. Everything should be, you know, about helping each other. And, you know, if you know someone that's looking for a role in, you know, from a recruitment standpoint, in, you know, let's say I'm in the tech sector, and you know someone, you say, Rich, I know this guy who's looking for something, and, you know, I thought you might want to talk to him. You know, I'd help you. And if I knew someone who was looking for something in rec to rec, looking for a new role, I'd send them your way. And it's about just working together, because end of the day, you know, we're collaborative individual, like people, we're human beings. We naturally work as teams, and help each other through it. And especially right now, with everything going on, it's more than ever, right? It's so challenging. And on that point, actually, about challenge, what would you really say to someone right now who's really finding it tough? Like, really, like, it's a challenging time for everyone for different reasons, personal, educational, you know, you can also look at it as from a work side as well. What would you say? What would be one bit of advice there?
Oh gosh, I always find it hard to have one, but I think
you can have many.
A plan.
Have many.
Okay. Have a plan.
Yeah.
I work in 90-day plans. Be consistent, stick with it. Develop a growth mindset, keep learning, keep listening. And, you know, what we've talked about a lot, build a personal brand, become an authority in your sector, and add value wherever you can. When you add value, that will come back to you. You don't give to receive, but you will receive in abundance if you are giving out value. And that's how I've seen a lot of people be very successful on LinkedIn. They've given out content and value for free, and it comes back to you. And that's sincerely what I believe.
No, absolutely. And I think it's, you know, that value point, if people really start wanting to understand it, I feel like it's people say, oh, add value, right? And they say, oh, I know what you mean, but do you know what we mean? Like, it's generally it's like a word I want to debunk, honestly. When people say value, it's like, what is value? And people go, this, you know, you can put 10 people in a room and everyone will say something different. I can guarantee it, right? But like, what is value? What is it to your market? Is it to, you know, a personal brand? Is it to, you know, it's if you can give as much value as possible to your community of people who you are trying to serve, I genuinely agree with you that will come back in masses. You won't see it straight away, but it's about the long-term, you know, result, isn't it? It's, you know, because you just
that's what I've seen in my clients. The clients that gave a lot for free during COVID are the ones that are now, you know, they're booming, and they will carry on doing that.
Exactly. And it's, if you're not doing it, you know, for anyone listening, and you really like you're really suffering with even from a business point of view, just start giving value. It's a really loaded word in many ways, but if you just understand what is it your market is working in, and work with them to really gain traction, like it's because at the end of the day, they'll be, if you're working with them now, they'll be with you when this is, however this over looks like, right, at the moment. A new normal, there's so many different
But
ways.
it's got to be authentic. I would just add that, because there may be people who feel, listening to this, are you doing this because you want something back? No, I am 52 years old. I'm not going to be doing recruitment for years and years to come. I would have hoped I would have retired before now, but I haven't. So, maybe 60 is that end goal. And so I haven't got a lot of time left, and I'm got this growth mindset, and I'm really excited. I almost feel like I haven't got enough time. So if I can give something back to people who, will probably not be in recruitment for as long as me, but if I can give something back from my highs and lows of my career, I'll be really thrilled with that. We have got to make sure we all not just survive but thrive these times.
Exactly.
And hopefully with what we're doing here, and what if you look at other podcasts and things that people have set up on other channels where they're giving out a lot of content for free, I've just learned so much.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And others will too.
Exactly. And this is, as much as this is a bridge about purpose and why we wake up every day and do the job we do, it's also about realizing that, providing as much free advice to get people, just thinking differently, and realize that we're all in this together. And if we can get with this podcast, the purpose being helping others, whatever way, shape or form that looks like, with the guests that will come on in the future as well, that it may guide slightly differently. We may take it down a different road, but the principle's the same. It's, why are we waking up and doing the job we do? What's it to serve? And 9 out of 10 times when I talk to people at the moment, it's to serve a bigger cause than themselves. And that's the difference. And that's why I'm so excited about where everything's going over the next, few years and few months even. It's incredible to see the changes. But just to cut on a closing point, really, I've always got more questions to ask. But Richard Reed is a book that I read back in 2017, and it's really resonated with me as a book to this date. From the likes of Judi Dench is in that book, Caitlyn Jenner, Bill Gates, and he asks them all one question, and is it, if I could tell you one thing, and to the audience listening, if you could give one bit of advice. One line that one bit of advice to anyone listening, what would it be?
Gosh, that's a difficult one. I think I've probably already said it. You're never too old to start, and just have the right people around you. Those people that are going to lift you up on those days that are hard, and who are going to celebrate with you when things go well.
And that's exactly it, isn't it? It's, whatever the hardest day is, it's only a day. Tomorrow doesn't have to be the same, right? It can be however you want it to be. You frame the people around you. You bring people into your life that you want. And that's exactly. And what I've been amazed, even though in the short time we've been knowing each other, but the content I've been engaging with from you, it always inspires me what you write. And
thank you.
Something different. And that's why I thought for, as I launched with this podcast and really spearhead it into 2021, I really appreciate having you on for this podcast.
Thank you, Richard, for having me as well. It's been wonderful.
Well, anyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Take care for now.